going well. Every Tuesday on Pacific Days, we speak with incredible Pasifika business owners and entrepreneurs sharing their amazing stories. Today, we're joined by the director and main shareholder of Ia Malu Limited, Sera Tapu-Ta'ala. Ia Malu has a strong focus on building, developing and supporting people to realise their God-given talents, gifts and highest potential. Sera has a dream to develop a village economy for migrant workers in New Zealand and be able to give back where her skills are needed for capacity and capability building her villages back home in Samoa, drawing on fundamental values and experiences to help guide her work, thinking and planning. Joining us from Poriru, Samoan social entrepreneur Sera Tapu-Ta'ala. Malo soi fuelo sunga, Sera, and thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Malo soi fuelo, Brian, for having me on today. It's a real privilege and an honor to be able to grace you all listeners for this opportunity, and I hope to be able to share something about Ia Malu the next 5 or 10 minutes that I have on your show.
Most definitely. Sera, let's begin with the name, Ia Malu. Tell us about that. Where did the name come from?
Great question, Brian. I think, well, if I can just start by saying that Ia Malu are Samoan words to mean to protect or to shelter. Malu. So the concept of giving and the concept of service has always been there in me as a person. And I, born and raised in Samoa, I grew up in my village, and that's my father's village in the beautiful and big island of Savaii. So I'm a village girl, and something in you in that childhood development and earlier life, and for anyone, you would. A seedling, something moves inside you and shifts in the way in which you view the world, and the unquestionable responsibility that comes with that, that for someone, I guess for me, I believe that it never left me. So Ia Malu in time was a concept that perhaps was deep-seated, rooted, and has grown, and it stayed with me up until now. And it's a concept that I knew in time. It was not a question of when are you going to do it. It was actually how you're going to do it. It was actually when is it going to happen. And I think the word Ia Malu I believe are incredible words that mean something very special to me, in the fact that the concept of protection, the concept of shelter, but it was actually made, it resurfaced again when I actually undertook some research for one of my masters, about 10, 12 years ago. So then the model became, and it was actually called Ia Malu, with the concept of a Samoan fale, for many listeners who are familiar with the architect of our native architecture of our people. If the house is not erected in such a way that it's, it can withstand the elements over time, of course it'll kukulua, it'll leak, and of course will no longer be a safe shelter for the family. So the concept, if you can kind of feel or visualize the concept I'm trying to describe here. So the name perhaps, was with me the whole time, and these snippets of my life, and as I became an adult, came into fruition, and it resurfaced even more, and it became prominent that out of all the names that I thought could have come up with, I landed on Ia Malu, and I thought, no, I am so sure this is a name for my company for the reasons that I've tried to articulate and described earlier.
Now, going back to about 2020 when the company started up, how it came about and why for you, Sera?
Yeah, thank you. So I mentioned earlier, my principles, and one of my strong principles and value is always about what can I give to help my brother or my sister, or help my family, or help someone else. So actually the foundational principles of Ia Malu is about building people. And I believe wholeheartedly that I have skills that I have acquired and enhanced, refined, redeveloped, and also rediscovered in the last sort of 20 plus years of my working life and education and so forth, that I, to be able to support people, whether it be around coaching, whether it be around, dynamics, team dynamics, and building teams in terms of strategic development, around business development, assisted some local ideas that come through potential entrepreneurs, and how can I be an example and therefore, impart and support like-minded people who want to do well and want to do better, but also do better so others can be better.
Sera, the main focus or services through Ia Malu Limited, whamolimole?
So the main services I provide are generally contract by service, or any contractual work, but I also offer consultancy work. So in all of those areas, in the fields of capacity and capability building, anything to do with growing people, anything to do with business development, around coaching, leadership. I also have a strong health background that can continue to kind of weave within in that lens, which underpins a lot of the movement and a lot of the drivers behind the things that we do, which in the end is for our families.
So, now, I understand that alongside Ia Malu Limited, you have a full-time job. How do you balance, the two, and then, of course, family responsibilities alongside all that, Sera?
I tell you what, some might think it's impossible, but when you're passionate about something too, I guess it comes from having clarity in your consciousness and being really clear about what is it that you want to achieve in the end. So, like, for instance, right now, I'm talking to you because I'm able to, take my lunch break and be able to talk to you, so be like, oh, yes, I'm going to move my lunch break. So then I'm able to talk to Brian Sangala this afternoon. So I guess it's about striking the balance of the time that you invest in building you as a person. So then you're equipped in your own time to give back to your company. And and not have to cross, never be able to blur that line where there's a clear line of separation of what you do on a day-to-day, serving other purposes, from a dream or a nurturing and hopefully a process of germination in what you're thinking about growing and developing as a side gig, as some would term it, or a side hustle from time to time, but being quite clear about those borders and striking a balance of both.
So, therefore, over the 2 or so years that Ia Malu has been running, Sera, looking back, what have been the big learning curves for you as a business owner?
I guess the biggest learning curves for me have always been about, staying focused, making sure that the dream doesn't die away or it doesn't, dwindle off, that you have to find some way to keep the momentum going, whether it be 5 minutes on Saturday night or whether it be reading about, Alanga Upu Samoa, to kind of keep your thinking and keep you connected. I find that really works. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you go door knocking or look for it. Quite often the answers are within the malu of your own fale, whether it be, chatting or talking to your own families, so the resources are within your own reach. I find that's what helps me, maintain my focus.
Sera, what would be the advice you'd give for those that are tuning in this afternoon that are looking to become their own bosses, to start up their own companies, or even have an idea, that they would like to pursue as a business?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because you will be challenged. You will find, higher humps on the way. The idea, and I think it's really important to be kind to yourself, that you get some sleep, that you don't read all night and then go up and go to do your normal job during the day, but also that it takes time to build anything, just like a failure, a house, it takes time to build into a state where it's safe and protected, and a family can feel protected. So persevere. And I guess I go back to my earlier comment, it's finding the momentum. It is for you to rediscover what keeps you going, your why. Your why has got to be stronger than anything else that will get in the way.
For our listeners and online viewers today, Sera, where can they go to find out more or to contact you at Ia Malu Limited? Whaamole lava.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I would say I would call myself a sort of a startup germination, a sort of a cross between the two. At the moment, we have a website where it's currently being developed, and I called on my brothers to help me put their time and skills into developing one. So we hope to hopefully have one up and running this, hopefully by the end of the week. And I have my contact. I mean, I can leave contacts with yourself, Brian. I mean, I think at this stage, without a website, as you would in the modern world and the tech savvy individual, that I know that's the way to go. But I guess for the interim measure is to, I can leave my contacts with you. I can be contactable on email or phone number.
That'll be greatly appreciated. Well, with that, it's a very big thank you. Whaapitaitele lava, Sera Tapu-Ta'ala, Director of Ia Malu Limited. Thank you so much for your time today, Sera. Whaapitaitele lava, and have a great day. Ia manuia.
Yeah, whaapitaitele manuia.
It's 20